give that boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. What is up, everybody? It is a Thursday here in beautiful Sacramento. The best time of the year in Sacramento. Hands down. Is there a better time in the year than this? There's not. And you're coming off a Kings victory last night, 122 to 107 over the Raptors. A little bit of a clunky game again from the Kings last night, but in the fourth quarter, they get it done. They pull it together. Huge night for Keegan Murray. Both ends of the court. Guy was absolutely everywhere. Katie Christensen. I love Katie. Bad night for Katie Christensen last night. Mark Jones, and I will give him credit here because I am not a big Mark Jones guy. I think he acts completely different on the Kings broadcast than he does on national broadcasts. I think it's all about punchlines. It's kind of like a playground to him. He doesn't take Sacramento serious, in my opinion. But he had to cut Katie off a couple of times because Katie's talking about the crash zones. And even Coach Brown in the preseason, he did not want the media in the gym when they're talking about crash zones. He doesn't want teams to know where the crash zones are at. And it's not like it's hard to figure out where the crash zones are at. I'm sure scouts and NBA coaches breaking down the film can see it, but she said them twice on the air. And like finally the second time, Mark's like, and yeah, Keegan Murray with this many rebounds. Don't give up where the crash zones are at. Come on, Katie. Katie, love you, but you can't give those up. You're giving up secrets. You're giving up Sacramento secrets. You can't give up Sacramento secrets. But anyways, Keegan Murray, excellent from the crash zones last night. Regardless, 122, 107. We're going to talk about this one at length. Want to hear from all of you today. We remember during the season, the Kings Court, usually we are 2 o'clock. That's our normal time slot, but it shifts because of Kings basketball, the timing of the games. It's kind of weird to do a long Kings Court and then go into a pregame show 30, 45 minutes later. So 1 o'clock is going to kind of probably be the time during the week when we do the Kings Court to look for it now. That could change as the season goes on. We'll keep spreading that word because it is an hour earlier than normal. 2 o'clock is when usually we do the show. Most of you show up. So crowd still filing in. Appreciate each and every one of you. We are brought to you today by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. You know all about Bennett's because I talk about it every single show. But do me a favor, get to bennettsrestaurants.com. Look at all of their different locations, 3 in all in the greater Sacramento area. Got prime cuts of seafood and steak. If you're looking to go today, happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock. Have some of their sips and tastes. That's what they call their happy hour, sips and tastes. I know Dennis somewhere floating out in the ether. He is a happy hour guy at Bennett's. He has been there a few times. So check it out. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com for more information, and huge thanks to them for sponsoring the Kings Court today. By the way, Grant's going to be here at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, doing an open forum show with all you, getting you ready. There is some NFL. Whoops, not that one. We want this one. Sorry about that. Switching up the studio there. We want this. Yes, there we go. Grant's going to be here at 4 o'clock talking about tonight's football game. Also, talking more about the Kings. Good victory last night again, but there are some glaring holes this team's going to have to address. We're going to go over those here in a little bit. Also, what we're going to do is I have not listened to the post-game audio at all. So we're going to listen to it together. We're going to break it down, see what Coach Brown had to say, see what Domas had to say. Davion Mitchell, we're not going to listen to him, but I did actually hear what he had to say after the game. Definitely happy or thrilled to be back in Sacramento for a night, but loves his new city in Toronto. And why wouldn't he? He's getting a ton of minutes in Toronto right now. They're just going nuts out there with injuries. Scotty Barnes, injuries are the story. Well, there's a couple stories of this young NBA season, but injuries are definitely one of the big ones so far. It's incredible how many guys are hurt. The Pelicans ravaged by injuries. The second story of the NBA season so far is the Golden State Warriors. Is this for real? Are we going to have to deal with the Golden State Warriors at the top of the West for the entire season? His buddy Hield found a home? I don't know, but their numbers say otherwise. Their numbers say they are legit. They knocked off Boston last night in Boston. We'll talk about that. Also, the Kings' next opponent, the Los Angeles Clippers. Talk about a team that is very, very difficult to get a read on. That is the team that absolutely smashed the Kings in the final preseason game down in LA from the Intuit Dome. Poor G-Man didn't have any paper. None of the technology was working with the box scores. He was doing a game blind. He worked through it like a professional. But the Clippers last night, we'll run down the scoreboard actually from last night. Have not looked back at that. See if the Clippers did end up winning that game. Let's go down the scores really quick since we are going to talk some NBA today. And Kings, we know about the Kings. The Clippers did end up getting the win last night over the Sixers. So we'll go over the entire scoreboard later. But the Clippers won 110-98. They got a big performance from Norman Powell and some of the other guys supporting cast. Zubats, he gives Sabonis a lot of trouble. He has given him some fits in the past. Will that continue tomorrow night? We'll see. But we wrap this one up with a bow first. The Raptors and the Kings, a game where the Kings, quite frankly, were out-hustled for 3 quarters. The Raptors had more energy. They had the ball moving, and it was bugging the Kings, and it should bug the Kings. They're coming back off of a long road trip. First game back at home, which sometimes can be the most difficult game. In this Toronto team, a team that's, as we said at the top, ravaged with injuries. Story of the NBA, one of the stories. But without Scotty Barnes, also without Emmanuel Quickley, the Kings did not take advantage of opportunities to really pressure them, get them uncomfortable. Because if you look at that Raptors lineup, and RJ Barrett had a great game too. And what about this Boucher kid? What are we going to do about this kid? As of right now, he is on the alternate all Kings killer team. This kid came out in the first half and hit a ton of threes again. You thought it was going to be one of those nights, but ultimately the Kings pulled ahead. But the Kings did not take advantage really of the weaknesses on that Toronto team, the ball handling. Not a great ball handling team. Davion Mitchell is very quick. He's a great defender. We've watched him forever here in Sacramento, but he's not the best ball handler, and the Kings gave him room to operate through 3 quarters, and operate they did. They hung around. The fourth quarter comes around, the Kings take off. They have one of those quarters, which now this season they're becoming famous for. We saw it in the third quarter in Miami. The fourth quarter last night is what put the Kings over the top. Keegan Murray, mentioned it before, great game. Domantas Sabonis. What do you want to say about this guy? He joins a very elite list of players to have a triple-double while going perfect from the field. 6 of 6 from the field last night. And 6 shots is not enough for him. That's one of those things we'll talk about here in a few minutes. We've got all the numbers, all the stats for you. Get up in here. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Give me your questions. We can go any way that you want to go. Last night or yesterday for the King's Court, the end of the show took a right turn. We ended up talking about video games, and we ended up doing a little bit of Q&A. So if you want to take the show off track, go ahead. Feel comfortable doing so. I don't care. We will have fun today. We'll mix in what we always mix in. And did anybody catch the post-game show last night? I am 99% sure I have identified who Peaches Johnson is. I'm almost sure of it. I went back and listened to it. I know for sure it's a clone that called. And for those that don't know, y'all know we open up the phone lines for the post-game show, right? Well, the first call that we get, and we weren't getting very many calls last night, which is fine. Not a big deal. Some nights that happens. Some people, it's late. Some people prefer to watch. We had somebody that called in from bed. Literally, our guy, Alex, he is in bed. But the first call was Peaches Johnson. Now, let me give you my thought process. Take a step back. I'm going to let you inside my head on these shows and how we run them. 9 times out of 10, we've seen the names before that call this show. We recognize them, right? The names that we don't recognize, a lot of times they will still show up on camera so we can see them. Now, when we see a name that we don't recognize, and especially a name like Peaches Johnson, that's the best that person could come up with. Peaches Johnson?
Damn!
The first flag goes up. You're starting to think, okay, all right, this might not be a legit call. And you've always got to take the Jim Rome. You got to play the Jim Rome card here a little bit. You got to know that those people are out there and lurking. For those new to the show or have no idea who I am, I have been a longtime participant in the jungle. I am very close with a lot of the people close to the Jim Rome show. So they like to have fun, sometimes at my expense, at other people's expense. Yes, red flags, Dennis. Definitely red flags. So Peaches Johnson, that was the first red flag. Now, the second immediate red flag that does not pass the smell test is if you have a name that you don't recognize. So there's number one. Number two, it looks like a fishy name. There's your second red flag. Now, the major red flag, the third one that you know that it's going to be a troll or somebody doing something silly, is when they're not on camera. When they're not on camera, you know something's coming. So I knew something was coming from Peaches Johnson last night on the post-game show. I was just hoping it was going to be clean, and I was going to wait to see what Grant's reaction was going to be. But granted, Peaches Johnson came on and basically said, "Hi, I'm happy the Kings won." Oh, thanks, Peaches. What was your favorite part of the game, Peaches? I forget what they said, but I am pretty sure I know who Peaches is. So it was kind of a funny moment. Grant wasn't having any of it. Sometimes he'll have fun with that stuff, and sometimes he just wants it flushed out. I was ready to have a little bit of fun at Peaches' expense, but nonetheless, if you know who Peaches Johnson is, you let us know. I think I know who it was. So no names mention Neil. Yes, Neil. I think that was you. Anyways, back to the King. Dennis talking about Sabonis, only player to go perfect with no turnovers with a triple-double. I thought Jokic did it. Dennis. I could be wrong. Also, breaking news about the Sac Republic. Change in ownership. The triple-double, this is from Sean Cunningham of Fox 40. The triple-double from Domas tonight was 17.66 from the floor, 13 assists, no turnovers, and 11 rebounds. He becomes the second player in NBA history joining Nikola Jokic to record a triple-double while shooting perfect from the floor. Okay, well, that didn't mention anything about turnovers. Maybe you're right, Dennis. Who knows? Good job, Dennis, if you're right. Flores, what up? What's up, dude? How you doing, buddy? Thoughts on Mike Brown's rotation last night, but also moving forward. Is it a rotation issue or a player issue with the bench? It's both. It's both. It's a little bit of both. It's definitely a player issue. There is not nearly enough talent on that bench, and no disrespect to the guys on the roster. They are world-class athletes. They are one percenters. There's less than 1% of this world that can play basketball the way that they do. But that being said, with the way that this team is built, it's not deep enough. It's not. As to your question about an issue with the rotation, I think that is one of the adjustments. And the only thing that I would like to see that I think makes a difference, and I've said it in the last couple of shows, is more minutes with Monk and Sabonis together on the floor. I think that makes a big difference for the second unit. I think that puts so much focus on the pick and roll, which it doesn't matter how much focus you put on that pick and roll between Sabonis and Monk, it's still going to work. They are that good at it. But because the defense's focus is there, that makes guys hang off and drag off waiting to help, which opens up your perimeter shooters that come off the bench, like your Trey Lyles, your Keon Ellis, those kinds of guys. So that's the one thing. But Mike Brown and the coaching staff are going to have to go back to the drawing board and see the substitution pattern. Is there something different with the combinations that they can play? The combinations of bench guys and starters. They've got to look. I haven't done it yet this season. You can go on NBA.com and look at all the different combinations that the Kings have put on the floor and their statistics per 100 possessions, all that. Tell you what, I will look at that tonight and I'll give you a better answer tomorrow. But you can bet the Kings coaching staff and Monty McNair's analytics team, they're looking at that right now. Because with what they have to work with, that is the only adjustment that you can really make. Now, as for the talent, it's pretty clear to me, if this team is going to be taken seriously as a possible contender, as somebody that can win a playoff series, they're going to have to make a move. It's pretty simple. What you're getting from the bench right now is not even close to enough. In fact, the team we talked about at the beginning, the Warriors, their bench is playing incredible for Steve Kerr. They're playing defense too as a team. Buddy Hield, a part of that bench scoring last night. The Kings were crushed 35-24. Which is the story most nights, because predominantly all of your scoring is coming from, and it should be Trey Lyles. Last night, again, not a great performance for Trey. 0 points in 11 minutes. Mike really ramped his minutes down last night. Did you notice that? Only 11 minutes for Trey Lyles. He only takes one shot. I had hope that Trey Lyles was going to get himself going. We saw it in Toronto. He came in first rotation off the bench and he gets to the rim. He gets a dunk. And what do you know? That kind of gets him going. He ends up making a 3 after that. Keegan Murray kind of did the same thing last night, which I think helped his game, which was a huge part of why the Kings won last night. But we're at the point with Trey Lyles, and I get that we talk about 15, 20, 25 game sample sizes on judging this team. We've got to stop saying Trey Lyles didn't have a preseason. It's done with. It's been enough time now. It's been enough time. You are how many games into the season? You're 8 games into the season. Trey should be worked in. He should be ready to go. So Trey Lyles is having a difficult time finding his feet. Let's just put it that way. Now, I will say this. It's not affecting his hustle. It is not affecting what he's doing in terms of crashing the boards, what he's doing getting loose balls, 50-50 balls. All good things. All good things for Trey. But the offense, not there. And Keon Ellis, you don't know what you're going to get from him offensively. Defensively, you know what you're going to get from him on a nightly basis. But offensively, it's up in the air. I mean, hell, he had which game was it that he had 10 points in the first quarter? Was it the Toronto game or no, it was Atlanta, I believe. 10 points in the first quarter off the bench. So the Kings are going to have to make a move. Flat and simple. It's that simple. Plain and simple. They're going to have to make a move. And I'm not saying that it's got to be a crazy, over the top, all-star move, shake the franchise. They're going to have to find more depth because I can tell you this. Many of you know that I cover the Stockton Kings really closely. There's not another Keon Ellis coming from that system this year. There's not. Doesn't mean that they're not still doing all those great things, but that player is not there. So Orlando Robinson, what's he going to be able to do? Jerry Reynolds keeps mentioning his name. So there's a reason Jerry keeps saying Orlando's name. Jerry obviously thinks this kid could possibly help the team off the bench. So we'll see once he's healthy and ready to go. But it's a problem. It is a problem for sure. Good question by you, Flores. Let's see. Let's go back up to the top. I want to hit everybody. Derek Hole, what's up, Derek? Really miss Grant and Jerry on the call. GOAT NBA announcers. They're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. Jerry Reynolds is he's Sacramento's grandpa. That's what he is. He's Sacramento's grandpa. And he's like the cool grandpa too. The fact that he's 80 years old and he comes on every halftime with us, and this isn't the only channel that he contributes to. He goes on the radio. He does hits there. He does some other podcasts, but Jerry is one of a kind. Let's just put it that way. It blows my mind that I went from being just like one of you, just a Kings fan. That's it. Just a Kings fan, admiring Grant and Jerry's work, having them be the soundtrack to my childhood when it came to watching basketball, to here where they're my partners. They're the people I work with. And not only that, two of my best friends. It's incredible. It's so hard to believe. But Jerry, and I'm incredibly lucky, but Jerry is just, to the fans, to everybody, he will stop and talk to anybody. You see Jerry in the store, he'll talk basketball with you. He's not one of those guys. And Grant was the same way too. When Grant was here in Sacramento. Now, obviously, he's in South Florida. But Jerry still signs cards. People mail him trading cards, and Jerry will sign them and mail them back. Freaking amazing. And yes, I did put out a tweet last night about Mark Jones. I had it. There was one timeout where Toronto went on a run, and I'm going to pull it up because I wrote it down. Oh, by the way, the pizza guys hit me up. The Malik Monk special is here. There you go. The Malik Monk special is here. The pizza box turns into a basketball hoop. So wait, let's talk about this, pizza guys. And I like the pizza guys. You want fans and customers to punch the bottom out of a greasy pizza box and use it as a basketball hoop? It's a good idea if the box wasn't greasy. Pizza guys. Okay, fair enough. But back to Mark Jones really quick. This was the quote going to the break. And I wrote it down. This was going to the break. Mike Brown's busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted. There's Kevin Huerter is fresher than Febreze. I challenge you to go watch any national broadcast that Mark Jones does. Seriously, go watch any broadcast Mark Jones does and see if he says any of that stuff ever. Never does he say that kind of stuff. Sacramento's his freaking playground. I feel like it's a lack of respect. I feel like he steps all over Katie. I feel like he tries to do Katie's job. I think the big words indirectly is talking down to the audience. It's like you're trying to flex on the audience. Look at my vernacular. Look at my vocabulary. I don't have a problem with people using big words, but at some point, you're trying to get something across there. And I'm not quite sure what it is, but the professionalism, the way he treats a Sacramento broadcast versus a national broadcast is disturbing. It's absolutely disturbing. And I can't stand it. Give me Kyle Draper every day of the week over Mark Jones. Period. End of story. Sorry, did not go off on a mini rat. RJ was nice. Yes, he was. RJ Barrett played well. His shot is so funky, though. Very, very funky. Let's see. Red flags. Haha. Trolls. Yes, dude, you got to watch him. Furious, what's up today? How you doing?
Acknowledge me.
Like that hat, Rhino. E1, good day to all. What's E1 mean? Thank you, by the way, Furious Wolf. Yeah, I've got this box of King stuff sitting to my left. If I could take the camera and show you, I would, but it's like a moving box that is full of King stuff. It's crazy. Anyways, Dennis, it was sent here and it's like, holy crap. Dennis, Rhino, I'm scared teams are gonna come after Keon. I don't want to lose Keon. Yeah, look, if you look at some of the, I don't want to call them pundits, but there's people on YouTube that do a really good job of capitalizing on situations like that, where they turn a little bit of tinder into a full out forest fire and they get you to click on and watch the video. This team's interested. Is Keon Ellis on his way out of Sacramento? Here's what I would tell you, Dennis. I don't think there's going to be any teams that come for Keon alone, but I do think Keon is a piece that is going to be very desirable to other teams. Now, the other side of that is if you are looking to make a bigger trade and you're looking at how to make the salaries work, Kevin Huerter's got to be a piece of it. And unless you're getting a lot of depth at that two guard position back in exchange in the trade, it would be really hard for the Kings to get rid of Keon and Kevin at the same time. But with the money that Keon makes, Keon could really, really, really help a playoff team. And I mean, really help a playoff team on a run. So there's going to be interest. Look, I've heard some of them out there. I think New Orleans is one of the teams that has shown interest in Keon, especially after, and that's when all the noise came up after Keon got the DNP CD in Los Angeles. That's when all the noise came up. Like, oh, is Keon Ellis available? Is he not going to be part of the rotation? Yes, I would not like to lose him either. He is definitely shown, on top of what he did last year, he has shown a lot more athleticism this year. Way more athleticism than I remember last year. He's made a couple of really, really good plays under the hoop. Really good plays in driving to the hoop. So we will keep our eye on that. You see how well Davion is doing? He's finally starting, and he's so annoying. I'm so happy for Davion. Yeah. My take is this: Davion Mitchell outplayed De'Aaron Fox this season in the season series. Tell me I'm wrong. He did. Now, if you look just at the points, you're going to tell me I'm wrong, but it goes much deeper than that. De'Aaron Fox, in their meetings, the two meetings this last week, I believe the number was 6 turnovers and 3 assists in both meetings combined. That's not good. And if you look at what the Kings did last night, it goes hand in hand with what we saw in Toronto, actually. We saw more of De'Aaron bringing the ball up in Toronto, but think back. Many of you may not have noticed this last night. You'll be hard pressed to think about a time De'Aaron Fox brought the ball up last night, because he didn't bring the ball up very much. In fact, the Kings had him in the corner and they were letting the other guys bring it up. I'm not going to say protecting the finger, but we have seen some issues with De'Aaron's handle and that finger. And Davion Mitchell is probably the last person in the NBA that you want guarding you in a situation like that with ball pressure. So I think Davion, especially the way he ran that team, he won the season matchup between the two of them. Small sample size, only 2 games, but he won the matchup. Davion and RJ just kept the Raptors in it. It was annoying. Yeah. 10% of the season in the books. Look at Peter, always doing the math. Good job by Peter. Yeah, Keegan was great yesterday, Derek. Completely agree with you. Keegan was awesome. All right, we're going to jump back down to the bottom. Derek, Davion was a pest on defense last night. Makes me miss him a lot on our team. Yeah, I don't know that I miss him that much, but yes, you got to remember the system here in Sacramento. Like, if you took a chart and you said these systems on the left are the best for Davion Mitchell and his style of basketball, and these systems on the right are the worst, the Kings system would be on the right, and it might be near the top of the list on the right, just because it's free flowing. Davion Mitchell, the way he plays the game, he needs structure, and he's getting that in Toronto with Darko. And look, all credit to him. I am very happy for him. He loves it there in Toronto. He had a great showing here in Sacramento. Got a standing ovation last night. Dennis was at the game, so he got to experience that. All great things for Davion Mitchell. Peter, do you think the Celtics will send the Kings a Christmas card? Thanks for giving up, Keita. We had this discussion yesterday on the Kings court. Keita's a champion, man. You go from the Stockton Kings to an NBA champion. All credit to him. He's not the first one that we've seen do that. Hassan Whiteside also has had success. Probably not a card from the Celtics, but good for him. Again, it's a fit thing. He is not a guy that plays well in a high tempo, unstructured offense. He's more of an old school big dude, and he's found a little bit of a role there in Boston. Good for him. Absolutely good for him. In fact, what was his number last night, Peter? I do not have his number in front of me. Let's pull that up really quick. Then we are going to listen to some sound from last night. I have not listened to it yet. Keita, our man, what did you have last night? Keita poured in 14 points. He was a plus 13. How about that? Good job. Good job, Keita. Keon, New Orleans might not make playoffs. They seem injury prone. Yeah, Derek, I've said it over the last week. That's the team to keep your eye on. If you are the Kings, if you are Monty McNair, if you are the rest of the NBA, they had high hopes for the Pelicans. And remember, the Pelicans have had the Kings number. I don't think I need to go over that. But do the injuries continue to drag out for them? And we're not talking like, oh, he's going to miss a couple games. We're talking missing weeks. We're talking long-term injuries to where this team is at the bottom of the Western Conference right now. We're going to talk NBA here in a second, but New Orleans is 3-6. Their net rating, something that we use to judge the true fiber of a team, their net rating right now is minus 8.5. Minus 8.5. Second worst in the Western Conference, second to the Utah Jazz. So keep your eye on them for this reason. Does this become a season where they sell? They're already going to lose Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram doesn't want to come back to New Orleans. They were trying to trade him in the offseason. If this gets too far away from the Pelicans, it'll be very interesting to see what they do. Very interesting. But yes, tough start for them. Derek, the problem is I'm probably taking the first over the second. I sometimes first off, nobody does garlic parmesan twist better than the second one that you mentioned there. And this is a big consideration. The second one there has way better ranch. Their ranch is so much better than the first one. But if I'm going to be eating a lot of pizza, I'm probably going with number 1. If I'm only going to have a slice or 2, I'll go with number 2. The problem is number 2 is expensive, man. It's so expensive there. Super expensive. It's incredible. Dennis, no thanks, pizza guys. Rather have points to get King's gear. Is that what they do? Is that what they do? They give you points for King's gear? Interesting. Derek says Mark Jones is horrible. Yep. Love the G-Man as well. Big shout out to Gary Gerald. To Sacramento's other grandpa. Absolutely. What he's doing still to this day, the schedule that he keeps, and I feel comfortable saying this because he's talked about it publicly. You know, his life would be very hectic without the travel and the grind of the NBA season. His life would be very hectic, very trying without it. And he finds a way to do both. He's an incredible human being. Testament to what a professional is, and a testament to what all of us should strive to be as a man, as a husband, if you're married. Gary Gerald, simply the best. I'll never forget when we did our event out at Bennett's. It was 2 years ago now. For those not familiar, Grant and I, about 2 years ago, we did a fundraiser out at Bennett's in Roseville. Guess it's a good time to put them back on the screen. We did a fundraiser in Bennett's. How it started was Grant had a Listen App show. And on the Listen App show, people would call in and it'd be somewhat similar to this. It was more of it was closer to what Grant did on the radio during his time in Sacramento. And I was part of that show. And so I was giving Grant a hard time because somebody got paid, I think it was like $10,000 or $15,000 to do something. And it was in the news. And so I was like, hey, Napes, like, you'd shave your head for $10,000, right? And he's like, oh, and I was expecting hell no, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd shave my head for $10,000. I'm like, stop. You wouldn't shave. I would shave my head for $5,000. Like, seriously? And so there's where it started. And then the calls started to come in on the Listen App show. Grant, I would pay $100 towards that. And so then it turned into, all right, here's what we'll do. If we can raise this much for charity, I will shave my head. And then it turned into Ryan and I will shave our heads. And the number that was set, that we said, it was blown away. There was so much more made that night. And so we had a big event out at Bennett's. We got our head shaved right there on the spot with everybody watching. We had a silent, or did we have a silent? It wasn't a silent auction. We had a regular auction and we had a silent auction. And it was just a fun, wonderful night. A lot of good money raised. I believe Foster's and Paws, I believe, is the charity where the money went to. So anyways, it was a pretty cool night. And we're planning to do another night like that again here in the near future, minus the head shaving. But we would like to do a road game and broadcast live and do a watch party for all of you. But yes, there was a lot of money made. But the G-Man showed up for us that night. He came out to the event and couldn't have been nicer. mingled with a lot of the fans, and yeah, just really cool. So that was nice of the G-Man to make it that night. The G-Man is a class act indeed, Alberto. Ryan, off topic, but did you see Sac Republic is getting a new owner and stadium? I did. I talked about it quickly off the top. There was a press conference today. Now, they're not getting a new owner per se. So Kevin Nagel is still going to be a managing partner. However, you are getting a new chairman. The Wilton Rancheria chairman, Jesus Tarango Jr., will be the face of the new ownership group of the Sacramento Republic. And they are looking to build an arena down in the rail yards. Now, the Sac Republic, for me, it's really hard for me to kind of wrap my head around this one, simply because of the entry fee to get into MLS. I just don't see how you're ever going to recoup that money. The entry fee is ridiculously expensive. I mean, what do all you think? Do you think Sac Republic will really be that profitable? I don't know. I don't see it. Let's put it this way. I just don't see MLS booming. I know people do love the Republic. I get that, Alberto, but here's the thing. You need more than just the people that love the Republic now. And you could have a city of Sacramento that is rabid. Let's say that the entire city of Sacramento and the surrounding areas become infatuated with the Republic, just as they became infatuated with the Kings, right? Let's say that. What about the rest of MLS? What if MLS is floundering? What if they don't have a good TV rights deal? What if the league doesn't continue to get better? And it doesn't really feel like the league has gotten better. When Messi came and played for Miami, that to me seemed like the high point of MLS. It seems like it's been pretty quiet since then, yet the asking price for these teams is through the roof. So I guess what I'm saying is MLS really here to stay? Like, would you bet your money that MLS is here to stay? Alberto, good conversation for us to have. MLS isn't profitable. Soccer isn't a premier sport in the U.S. It is not. You know why soccer is not a premier sport in the U.S., in my opinion? And the same thing goes for baseball. You have a lot of old timers that say, hey, why are most of the baseball stars international guys? They're not homegrown, right? There's a few that are homegrown. And the same is said of soccer. Obviously, the English Premier League, you do have a few. Your Clint Dempseys, your Alexi Lawlesses. You've had different examples. The problem with baseball and soccer is the barriers to becoming a professional baseball player, a professional soccer player. It is expensive. It is so expensive for families to put their kids through traveling select teams, through training. It's incredibly expensive. Basically, if you don't have an extra $100,000 laying around over the lifetime of your child playing youth sports on a traveling team, you're probably not going to be making it to those elite levels. So you're kind of pricing certain kids out of the game. They can't get the same opportunities in terms of playing on traveling teams if they don't have the same economic background. And it's a problem. It's a huge problem. Football, a little bit of the same problem, but not as much. especially with the flag football movement these days. But you got to have money for your kids to be able to play that sport properly. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Let's see. Power slap. Oh my gosh. So I took the time, Derek, to watch a power slap match. I watched one of them. And the guy that was doing the slapping, I believe, had been drinking before the match. And immediately after the match, he was looking for his beer to drink. It's a wild thing. You know, the wildest thing about power slap to me is the one that I watched. I'm looking at one of the guys that's standing behind the competitors to catch them in case they fall. And I'm like, damn, that dude looks like Forrest Griffin. Like, is that Forrest Griffin? I'm like, no, why would Forrest Griffin be one of the laggies that's catching the competitors? Damn it, it was Forrest Griffin. Are you kidding me? It was Forrest freaking Griffin. Unreal. That blew me away. Flores, though not as popular or profitable, MLS is here to stay if NBA wants to compete on a global, or if USA wants to compete on a global level. But that's the thing. You can want to compete, but the reality is you're never going to compete with the English Premier League. You're never going to compete. How many people, if you are a top-notch, top-tier soccer player in the world, are going to choose playing soccer in the US over playing soccer in the Premier League? None. Zero. The only way that you might make them do that is if the money is 50 times better. It's never going to happen. Like, that's the for those that are wrestling fans here, MLS is NXT. English Premier League is Monday Night Raw. Which show do you want to be on? And I get NXT's been a little bit better, but you get my drift. That's going to be really tough to compete with. We've got audio from Coach Brown. As I said, I have not listened to any of it. We're going to listen to a couple minutes of what he had to say about the game. We will get back to the comments here in a little bit. Here is Coach Brown on last night's Kings victory.
Man, good win by our guys. It's good from the standpoint that when you go east and you're east as long as we were, and then travel the way we did coming back and all that stuff to lock in and refocus for a game against a team that plays as hard as Toronto does, to get out of that game with a win. It was fantastic job by our guys. Because again, that group, they play hard. Right? They play really hard. They're young, and so they're pretty carefree. They have nothing to lose out there, and it makes it even harder because how carefree that they play and how hard they play. Darko's doing a nice job with those guys. We got one of the things we challenged our guys with at halftime. They had 36 points in the paint, and they were just getting downhill on us, and or cutting back door on us. Play after play after play, and our guys, I got to give them credit. They had 22 points in the paint in the second half, so our guys took care of the paint like we challenged them to. And I mean, Keegan was a monster on the other end of the floor. He 7 offensive rebounds. I don't know if I ever seen anything like it. Every time he got another one, I was amazed. But he is the epitome of what we say it means to crash. He does a heck of a job. We had 25 second chance points, and that was an area we got hurt in up there. If you combine the fast break points with the second chance points, we got hurt in that area up there. We at least I think we ended up beating them by a couple, and it was a lot had to do with Keegan and Domas as well. The two guys between them had 11 of our 16 offensive rebounds. Keon did a heck of a job too with 3. Acknowledge me. Another triple double. I feel like I'm saying that quite a bit. A big time game from Domas. Obviously, DeMar down the stretch. He closed it for us. It was great to see him getting to his spot, nor us getting him the ball in his spot and letting him be able to go to work. But we had a lot of very, very good individual performances. Even A. Lynn, who was our defensive player of the game.
Alex Len, defensive player of the game. How about that? These clowns better feed the big boy stat. You talking about Sabonis, PK? Don't disagree with you there, buddy. He only got 6 shots last night. He needs to be fed some more. We are talking a myriad of things, mixing in some audio from the Kings win last night. We're also going to talk about the Western Conference here in a few minutes in the NBA overall. You are welcome to call the show. You can use the link that I'm going to put right back in the chat for you. Also, use the QR code on the screen if you would like to. We are brought to you today, as I told you earlier, by Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland, one of their 3 locations in the greater Sacramento area. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. We always talk about the redfish, which is incredible. Also, I absolutely love their steak Cobb salad, their daily soups, their mushroom soup to die for, and their weekend brunch. Incredible stuff. Go check out their website, bennettsrestaurants.com. You can look at all the specials as well as their full menu. You can make reservations, put in your to-go orders there, and buy gift cards. You got somebody that you're shopping for, get them a digital gift card to Bennett's. Happy hour, Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 o'clock. Their Sips and Tastes. Go check them out. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring the show. Let them know that you heard about them here on If You Don't Like That. Don't forget, Napes is going to be here at 4 o'clock doing an open forum show, getting you ready for Thursday night football, talking more about the Kings, certainly some more about the Republic as well. He is very close with Kevin Nagel, who is taking a step back. He will still be a managing partner with the Republic. However, the ownership has shifted. We've been talking about that a little bit today, as well as soccer and America. So get your takes in here right now. Get Sabonis shots, or this will be tough. He's going to get his opportunities. And here's the thing. You don't really need to get Sabonis shots. Sabonis gets himself shots with second opportunities. But if I had to circle one area of the game last night, and by the way, PK, because I know you're just tuning in, I have not listened to any of the audio from after the game. So we're listening to some of it together and digesting it. But the one area that I would not be surprised if it comes up that I have circled is there were too many times last night, and it's not the first game that we've seen this, where guys, including Domas, are passing up wide open shots. Great shots for good shots or bad shots or turnovers. DeMar had one at the beginning of the game where he had a wide open 3 and he did the pump fake. He was trying to draw the foul. It was an incredibly difficult shot. He was probably fouled. He still made it, but that's a problem. Keon Ellis did it. Keegan did it. Coach Brown that's been a big teaching point and a big point of emphasis for this team this season. The Kings got to be better about that. They've got to be better, but I don't disagree. You've got to feed the big man. You got to get him his shots. 6 is not enough. But the fact that he turns in a triple-double on 6 of 6, get out of here. Come on, get out of here. Peter, NorCal Premier Soccer is the largest youth soccer group in Northern California. I don't know much about youth soccer here in Sacramento. I know a little bit about youth soccer here in Elk Grove, and I would like to take this public opportunity to apologize to the kindergarten and first grade team that I coached 2 years ago. I probably set your soccer careers back at least 3 years. I may have turned you away from the game of soccer because I don't know anything about soccer, but I volunteered to coach because nobody else could. So and by the way, that was rough. You guys realize, I don't know if I've told this story on air, but I volunteered to coach, and the season was not. Oh no, the season I volunteered to coach. That's right. Sorry, let's reset this. I volunteered to coach, but I did not have my first hip replacement surgery scheduled yet. It was still like 3 or 4 months out from when coaching was supposed to start. A month before the soccer season started, they called me and they're like, "Hey, we can get you in Friday. Do you want to do it?" No, it wasn't a month, it was a week. And I'm like, hell yes, because it was the worst pain in my life. For those that don't know, I had both of my hips replaced in 2023. And 1 week, no, 3 days after having my hip replaced, I was on the field, on the soccer field, with a drip bandage and tube attached to my hip and a walker to walk, coaching youth soccer. Definitely could not give it all that I had. So my apologies to that team, but they wouldn't have a coach if I didn't do it. But that was hard. That was hard. So NorCal Premier Soccer. Okay, so Peter, do you know somebody in NorCal Premier Soccer? Do you know somebody that has a kid that plays in that? How expensive is it to be a part of that group? I've got to think it is very expensive. Let's see. Power slap is pure violence. I don't disagree with you. Yeah, Alberto, it's a good take, dude. It's a good take. It's a stupid idea. It's an absolutely stupid idea. And especially in like the forums where it's consumed, like that's not being consumed at home around the fireplace with your family. That's being consumed in dive bars and establishments where alcohol is flowing. You already have likes to fight guy at most bars, but then you put power slap on the TV. What's going to happen? Guys are going to start talking about, "Oh, I bet you I could slap the crap out of you." No, I've got a good shit. Next thing you know, you got people slapping each other, giving each other CT. I agree, dude. It's a bad idea. I can't imagine that's profitable either. You think the wrestling fan is different? You think if you go to a wrestling event and you look around at the fans, that group is different? Imagine a power slap event. And I'm not talking about the ones they put on TV, like where Dana White's got people in suits and, sitting all around the ring. I'm talking about like if they had house shows. Let's say they came to Golden One Center. Who do you think those fans are that are showing up to that? It's going to be a weird group. It's going to be a very weird group. Trust me. Roseville is developing their own soccer complex because they are tired of their competitive teams going out of town for tournaments. That's what it is. It's so expensive. I played AAU basketball, and it was not what it is today, where you were traveling all across the country, but you were definitely moving around. I played Nike League. It was, yeah, it's a big commitment. It's a huge commitment. Is soccer/baseball that much more expensive than basketball/football? I would imagine they're comparable. Well, Alberto, here's the thing. This is the big difference. For soccer and baseball, maybe not baseball as much, but definitely soccer. For soccer, the majority of your scholarships are not coming from high school soccer. That's not where you're getting noticed. You're getting noticed in traveling teams. You're getting noticed by being a part of the USA program. You're getting noticed, all those things that are super expensive. Now, if we're talking about football, basketball, I don't know of a traveling and competitive football team. I don't, I'm sure it exists somewhere. I'm thinking more of like like Elk Grove, for instance. They have the junior herd, right? And that's not traveling. Yeah, you travel around the Sacramento area to play other high schools, junior programs. But with basketball, there's still opportunities for you to play basketball without being an AAU, to still get noticed. You know, you don't have to travel around the country. Now, certainly your top athletes, yes, that would be exactly comparative to soccer and baseball when it comes to traveling. Yeah, it would cost the same to travel around, but the cost of entry into playing basketball is really simple. It's a basketball. There's hoops everywhere where you can go work on your game. You can do it on your own. It's different for baseball. It's different for soccer. So traveling money comparable, but the sport like being noticed, and yeah, a lot of scholarships come from AAU and traveling teams in all those sports, but you can still be highly noticed in high school basketball. And what's the cost going to be? I think when I was in high school, what you dropped 125, 150 bucks for your team gear, for your team shoes, maybe a couple of sweatshirts. You know, it's different when you're paying for a hotel every single weekend in a different city. And the problem with youth sports in general today is the specialization. The fact that you have kids, and that's why you're seeing these players blow out their shoulders at earlier ages. It's why you're seeing these injuries pop up early in careers, because you have guys that are working on one thing and only one thing from a super young age. Growing up for us, we played 3 different sports. We didn't just focus on one. Now it's like, especially if you have the parents, and no offense if you are this parent, it's just not my preference as a parent. But like, if you have the parent that's as invested, if not more invested, in the situation for the child strictly because they want them to get a scholarship, that's really hard. That's a lot of pressure on a kid. It's a ton of pressure. I get sports change. I know college is expensive, but then you get into murky waters, because I did not personally experience this, but I saw this happen with people in my family. I saw this happen with groups of friends where you have bad people that are coaching in AAU, that are coaching in these other leagues outside of high school, that are in parents' ears telling them, "Oh, I guarantee I can get your kid a scholarship. I 100% they will have a scholarship. Just stick with the program. Stick with our team." And what happens is that kid's parents end up spending $100,000 over 4 years. The kid never plays because it is competitive. It's not everybody gets 10 minutes. And the kid never actually had the skills or a chance to get a scholarship, yet they're being sold that. The parents are being sold that. So you have shady people that are in that space too. I just don't like how youth sports have morphed to what they are now. I wish it was mandatory. If you want to be an athlete, you got to play a couple sports. You got to. You're not allowed to just play one. It's crazy. I guess that's kind of an unfair thing to do, because if you only like one sport, I don't want you forced to be playing another one. But you get my point. Some of the best athletes that we see in baseball do a little bit of it all, right? And it's because they grew up that way. They didn't grow up just working on pitching or hitting. It's definitely an interesting conversation nonetheless. All right, let's get back to the bottom of the comments. Let's see. I just want Jonas and Chris Murray on the Kings. Why do you want Chris Murray on the Kings, Dennis? PK, you're so right, dude. You're so right. Give Sabonis an old school leather helmet. He deserves it. The face mask, I get you can't play with. Give him a leather helmet. Won't make that much of a difference. In fact, give him one of those Guardian caps from the NFL. Let him just wear that on his head during the games. He takes a freaking beating night in, night out. Valanciunas, yeah, he's in Washington, y'all. That ship has sailed. Let's see, maybe chemistry is still a work in progress, but something is off. Yeah, the something that's off is ball movement. Ball movement is off. And I don't mean that. I'm not pinning that on DeMar DeRozan. I'm not. But the ball movement for this Kings team has been poor. Coming into last night, they were averaging 25.1 assists a game. The Kings, most times last year when they won games, 30 and over. When you're playing a free-flowing style offense, the ball needs to move. The reason that the three-pointer is not falling, I truly believe this, because the looks have not been bad. There has been a few times where there's been bad shot selection. Malik Monk had a couple of those last night. In fact, he's had a few of those in almost every game this season. There's been portions of the game where the Kings panic, they rush, they start hucking up threes. It happened in Miami for a little bit. Definitely happened in their loss at Toronto for a little bit. It happened in Minnesota or versus Minnesota. That's why the Kings lost that game. But the ball movement's off. You're asking the guys to play a rhythm and flow offense, but not everybody is getting to be a part of that rhythm and flow. So I just feel like the Kings, it's a big ask. And I know you guys are going to rip me for this and not understand it. Some of you will. But it's a big ask for a guy like Keegan Murray or a guy like Keon Ellis to be up and down the court, defending your ass off, up the court, offense, get a rebound, tip the ball out, do whatever, not touch it really offensively in the course of the possession, but then get the ball on the 6th or 7th possession and have a wide open three and be asked to make that shot. Energy comes with the basketball, whether you're shooting it or not. It gets you into the flow, and guys are going many possessions without touching it. The Kings on the last road trip, they shot the three ball 29.8%, and they went 3-1. It's not because the looks are bad. It's because guys are not in rhythm. So how do you change that? I think Mike Brown's got to probably call a few more set plays. It's become predictable already early on in the season that every game that Kevin Huerter has started for the Kings this season, the Kings' first possession, they come out and they run a set play for Kevin Huerter. It's coming off of the double screens, and more times than not, he takes a shot near the top of the key for three. So you need to mix in a few more of those plays when you see Keegan Murray not touching the ball for 4 possessions. And credit to DeMar. DeMar has been finding different opportunities to pass out of the double. I think that will be a work in progress as well. But, I'm not going to blame ball movement on DeMar because he's an ISO guy. It's not DeMar. It's just the movement outside of DeMar to me has been really poor at times. It does feel like we're missing something. Bane, what's up, dude? Nope, no segments for them today. Yeah, Bane, I said we're starting at 1 right now during the season just because of programming and changes. Like Grant's on at 4. So tomorrow will also be a 1:00 start. That will definitely have a WWE Adam segment. I'm not sure about Haunted Horse. I'm going to have to check with him on his schedule to see if we can work him in. I can't watch that. Yeah, I'm with you, PK. Definitely. I kind of want to go. Why do you want to go to a Power Slap event, dude? To see the clientele. Come on, Derek. You're too much, dude. Let's see. Kings still have a lot to figure out. They do. How many games into the season are we, y'all? We're 8 games into the season. Grant and I have said we can't judge this team until we've seen 15 or 20 games. The coaching staff, you realize that the coaching staff, Grant and I do this too, but they go in 5-game increments. They break down the 82-game season to 5-game increments. We've only had 1 5-game increment so far. There is still a lot going on. I'm going to Atlanta, Miami on Saturday. There you go. Have a good trip. Be safe. Sabonis is consistent. DeRozan is pretty consistent. Fox is less consistent, but can take over a game on both ends. The best. Yes, I don't. Well, you think he can take over a game better than DeMar? They do it different. That's for sure. The way they take over games. I just don't. The Fox and the finger thing. I don't know what the Kings and Fox are gonna do to figure it out. Last night the game plan for those that did not notice, or it just went over your head, or you didn't watch the game. The game plan last night was we're not going to have De'Aaron Fox bring the ball up. There was only a couple possessions that De'Aaron brought the ball up last night. And that's because, one, the defense that Davion had played on him in the first meeting, but more importantly, two, the finger. De'Aaron's handle has been off. And he's come out and said it's a ligament issue, which means it's probably not healing during the season. So this is the De'Aaron Fox, ball handling wise, that we're probably going to see for most of the season. So how do you kind of change that? How do you work around it? What can you do to help get that finger right in the off days? They're going to have to figure something out, because De'Aaron, a big part of his game is having the ball in his hands. That's how he got to the NBA. So if that's going to be the case, it's going to be a huge adjustment for him to be playing off the ball. And the year he had last year, which a lot of people feel he struggled, me included, he played a ton off the ball last year. Now, his catch and shoot three is actually pretty good. Last year, he shot it at just over 43%. But the finger thing, to me, it's not, it doesn't affect the shot. If you've ever played basketball, you shoot the ball like this, right? You've got your hand in arc. You got your hand back like this. These two fingers, not as important when it comes to your follow through. More like that. Yeah, those ones stick up when you follow through. When you're cupping the ball, these three are your most important fingers. That's where most of your foundation is at when you cup the ball for your shot. So I don't think it's a huge problem there, but the dribbling is a little bit of a problem. We know that. So, hey, thanks for tuning in today to the Kings Court Live. Appreciate all of you and the comments. We've been talking about the Kings game last night. They've got the Clippers tomorrow night. Oh, I completely missed this. Dennis, my man, thank you. Dude, thank you, Dennis, very much for the super chat, dude.
Acknowledge me.
Thank you. We only need some bench help. Santa, bring me Jonas and Chris Murray. Dude, you're going to need a big stocking for Jonas. But Dennis, thank you very much for the super chat, brother. That is much appreciated. The super chats on this channel go back into the channel to improve the programming and the systems and the things that we do for all of you. So thank you, my friend. That means a lot. Appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you. So very, very nice. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Another big
Acknowledge me.
Let's see. Dennis, he's so good. PK is just going back and forth. Dennis, love it. Yeah, Dennis, good job, dude. Good job. Do you like the roster of the Stockton Kings? Interesting that you ask, Justin. I don't mind it. I haven't seen it really yet. No, they start on the 11th. The first home game is the 12th. I'm supposed to be going to training camp between now and then. So I want to see them in camp before I really issue whether I like it or not. I do like the Drew Timme pickup. And the roster this year for Stockton does look drastically different than it did last year. Stanley Johnson's not going to be there. Jalen Slauson is not there. So it is different. But the Drew Timme piece, that to me is such a great move for this reason. Last year, I was so high on what Stockton was doing because it was preparing the guys. It wasn't just about trying to win a G League championship. It was preparing the guys to possibly get minutes in Sacramento. And it wasn't like, hey, go out there and score as many points as you can so we can see who the best player is. Yes, Sharif is there now as well. But it wasn't like, hey, go score 1,000,000 points and we'll pull somebody up to the Kings. But yeah, okay. Any of those guys could have done that. Kess could have scored 40 a night if he wanted to. He didn't. What they did was they simulated the looks that many of those guys would get should they end up getting minutes in Sacramento. So when they came to Sacramento and they got thrown into a game, they were ready for what they were going to see. Now, certainly the speed is a little bit different in the NBA versus the G League. The size is a little bit different as well. But more times than not, when you saw guys from Stockton come up from the G League and get a few minutes in Sacramento, they were ready to go. It didn't look like the moment was too big for them. And that was because of the system they ran. They ran it around Scal. They did a good job of simulating what the Kings were doing in the NBA. And then the player development, too. It was incredible. Lindsey Harding did a great job. She's now with the Los Angeles Lakers. Your new coach, he's getting stuff under his belt. Gabriel Harris, who I am extremely high on, named the GM now full time. Quentin Richardson, he's going to be a good coach. I do like him, but Gabriel Harris knows what he's doing. He's got an eye for talent. He scouts really, really well. So I'm excited about what they've done. Bringing in Drew Timme more or less makes him the Sabonis of that team. Now, I want to be clear. Drew Timme is not Sabonis, but Drew Timme can simulate some of the things, play a similar style to what Domas tries to play, especially now with the 3-ball in Domas's bag. And so I do like what's happening, but I do want to see them on the court, which hopefully I will be going to training camp before the 11th. I've been in contact with some of the people in the organization about that, getting it all planned out. But Stockton, they should have a good year. Look, last year made it to the Western Conference Finals. I down there covering them in the playoffs. It was a lot of fun. Mason, love Mason. Mason's story is incredible. And he's just one of those guys. The energy is just so infectious with Mason Jones. Incredibly infectious. Like anytime I talk to him down in Stockton, like I'm ready to run through a freaking wall after I talk to him. He's just always got the big smile. He's always positive. He's such a team guy. Like, dude is awesome. He is so good for both the Kings and the Stockton Kings when he spends some time down there this season. So anyways, this has been a different and fun show. Huge shout out to Dennis for the super chat of the day. I appreciate that very much. You see how good Keita is. Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments about Keita today. He had a good game for Boston, but again, the Warriors, their plus minus, their net rating this year is 15.8 right now. They are 7-1 on the season, and they are currently on a 5-game winning streak. Some of that time without Steph Curry. Anybody have that on their bingo card? The two big things for this Warriors team this year, number one, Buddy Hield. Actually, there's a couple of big things. Buddy Hield, as we sit today, 6th man of the year, easily, as we sit, maybe most improved player of the year, or player. Here's the other guy, Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has had an unknown family issue that's been going on, or a personal issue, for the latter part of a year. He is playing pretty good basketball. He is back to being what we remember Andrew Wiggins being, and I believe he had 15 last night. So that really helps that team. They're deep on the bench, and damn it, the Warriors play defense. They're only giving up 105.3 points a game. That's incredible. They've cut down on the turnovers. The last time I checked, they were number 1 in the NBA in assists. Are the Golden State Warriors legit? Are they legit? We don't know yet. It's not enough of a sample size, but they are by far the surprise of the NBA so far this season. The two teams we talked about are New Orleans a little bit earlier. Denver is the other team that I'm keeping my eye on. Denver has now lost Aaron Gordon. They already, before that, could not afford to lose anybody else. But Aaron Gordon going to miss at least a couple of weeks. Denver has looked shaky, but they are 5-3 on the season. Same record as the Kings. Defensively, they are giving up a ton of points. Denver, they're giving up 117.3 a night. They gave up 119 to the same Raptors team that was in Sacramento last night. So keep your eye on what Denver is going to do this year. I think that window is definitely closing. I think it definitely is closing. Are the Warriors legit? Nah, I don't think so. Interesting. All right. Interesting. We'll see. You go into Boston and you win. It's a pretty damn good win. 5 games in a row. Let's see if they can if they can continue streaking. The Kings won 2 in a row. Always a good thing. But Golden State, 5 in a row. How about Phoenix, who we're going to see a couple times here in the next few games? Phoenix has won 6 in a row. Interesting thing about Phoenix, although they sit tied atop the Western Conference, their net rating is only 3.6. The Kings, who are 5-3, their net rating is 5.7. The wild card for Phoenix is Tyus Jones. Phoenix last year did not have depth, and on top of that, they also were asking Devin Booker to be a distributor. You are an idiot if you are using Devin Booker as a distributor. They're now using Devin Booker as they should, as a scorer, as a guy that can do a little bit of everything, as your go-to man. And so Tyus Jones, he is the difference maker because he's playing that distributor role, and it's making all the difference in the world for the Phoenix Suns early in the season. If I had to say between the Suns and the Warriors, if I had to say which one I think at this point of the season is in it for the long haul this season, I'm going with the Warriors over the Suns. If Tyus Jones goes down, watch the hell out. That Phoenix team's going to struggle. Also, show me the last time Durant, Booker, and Beal have stayed on the court together for an entire season. Just not sold on it. But we'll get a big dose of them coming up here in the next couple games. John, what's up, dude? No worries. We're getting ready to wrap up for the day. We're going to be starting again at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. So tomorrow, King's Court will be back 1 p.m. We'll do our Friday Royal Rumble, meaning any of you can come in at any time. You can come in together. We can bring as many people on screen as you would like. Also, we'll be doing our WWE segment. I know Adam has plenty to say about Crown Jewel. Plenty to say about Crown Jewel. I've got a few thoughts on that as well. Haunted Horse, we'll see if we can get him in with his parlay picks for the NFL weekend. You do have Bengals and Ravens tonight, as Finchy brought up. Give me the Ravens in that one. I hate the division games on a short week. So bad. I hate that. You should not be making those Thursday night games, but I understand why they are because of the money that Amazon pays for the NFL. Also, we'll be back to Kings basketball tomorrow. We'll break down the Clippers for you. I'm going to reach out to Law Murray, the athletic staff writer for the Clippers, see if maybe he can come on the show and talk about what the Clippers have been doing so far this season and preview the game with us. No promises, but he was going to come on last time the Kings played the Clippers. So I'll reach out to Law later this afternoon. And yeah, good day. It's a beam day. The beam is lit from yesterday. Domantas Sabonis, big game. Keegan Murray, as we heard from Coach Brown, the reason the Kings got that game yesterday. Dennis, huge thanks to you, buddy, for the super chat. And all of you, super chat or not, I appreciate each and every one of you for showing up. Do me a favor. Do not forget, join Grant today, 4 o'clock. Make sure you come back, show him some love, give him some questions. Hell, Peaches, if you're out there, give Grant a call today. Peaches, Grant would love to hear from you. I'm just saying. But anyways, and then do me a favor as well. A couple of favors. Give us a thumbs up if you haven't already, or retweet. Would really appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And then also make sure you're following the King's Court. Super important during the NBA season, because you get all the audio right there. Hit that QR code or go to Apple, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Look up the King's Court with Rhino. Download the podcast, subscribe, rate it. Please give it a listen, because the days that we don't have King's Courts, and even the days that we do, you're getting exclusive audio over there. This week's been a little bit slow because we've had some other things going on, but you will get morning, what I call shoot-arounds, where I talk about what I saw after watching the game a second time. We listen to the post-game audio, and then also I give you what I'm hearing from my sources at the team and around the team from the game before. So make sure that you subscribe to that, and I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys know that. Fun show today, a little bit of everything. Make it a great rest of the day. Hopefully you can join Grant at 4 o'clock. We will be back here at 1 o'clock tomorrow for the King's Court Live Royal Rumble Friday, wrapping up the week. And tomorrow morning, you'll have a King's Court shoot around right there waiting for you. So make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast. Again, huge thanks to Dennis for the super chat, and all of you for showing up and making the show better. Go Kings, light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Court is dismissed.